a little bit more analysis on this story now with Manlio Graziano, who's a geopolitical expert. Thank you very much for being with us on France 24.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's first go back to these negotiations that we saw in Geneva. How can we imagine that these talks actually went behind the scenes? Is it just a matter of the Ukrainians saying, okay, this isn't going to work for us, this is what we propose, and the Americans saying, okay, well, we can try to put it to Russia?
Yeah, it's very difficult to guess because, in Geneva there was Marco Rubio over there, and the day before he said one thing, and some minutes later he said the opposite. So it's always very complicated to know what Americans think in these cases, because they can change very rapidly their point of view. It depends on whom Donald Trump is listening for as the last person. So and by the way, even Rubio himself, it didn't give many information about so much information about what had happened and during this conversation they had. Of course, Zelensky is obliged to say that things are going in a good path, because he knows very well that he cannot cross the path Donald Trump. So he tries to remain in this diplomatic posture. But what is the reality? I don't know, and probably even Marco Rubio doesn't know, because he has to wait what is the reaction in the United States.
Because Donald Trump, I mean, as far as he's concerned, he just wants this war to be over, right? I mean, what do the Americans really want in terms of content? Are they that much focused on the content, or is it just a matter of the president wanting to fulfill a promise of ending this war?
That's the problem, in the sense that when you say Americans want, we don't know which kind of American we are talking about, because Donald Trump has his objectives, goal is to make the titles in the big papers. There are people among them, even Marco Rubio himself, that think in political terms. But today, it's very difficult to have the possibility of listening to them, because I know that yesterday, when the 28-point plan was presented, there were even among Republicans some vocals that were not very happy with that. But what kind of power of decision finally they have? So Donald Trump doesn't want to finish the war. He wants titles on the papers. This is the only goal he has, because as in Palestine, Israel, Gaza issue, okay, there was this ceasefire, but it's not a peace plan. I mean, it was presented as a peace plan because Donald Trump could sell it as a peace plan, but it is not a peace plan because a lot of details are lacking. And here is even worse, because not only details are lacking, but when you have details, there are the details of Russia. And of course, things cannot go this way. And probably someone just top on the shoulder of Donald Trump and say, cannot work this way.
Meanwhile, the Europeans, or the Coalition of the Willing, are meeting virtually this Tuesday. What power do they have in all of this? Because, I mean, the Europeans were largely blindsided by the U.S. presented plan.
Yeah, not only that, but they didn't react. I was surprised, because the first couple of days almost, there was no official reaction. Some words, and all of them were very, very cautious, because they don't want to offend Donald Trump. So they didn't express themselves very clearly. And I'm not very optimistic about these meetings, the Willings, or even less of the European Union, because they know perfectly that they are kind of hostages of what happens in the United States. If Donald Trump decides that the war is over, he will prepare something very grandiose, and show that he is the man of peace. But the Europeans what can they do if it happens? And this is why they were silent in the first 2 days, because they were looking for an answer because it's very complicated for them. On a little side, I would say that probably the fact that Europeans are expressing, at least in the form of the coalition of willing, are expressing their opinion against the 28-point plan, probably it can help in the United States those who would like to stop this plan or at least to change this plan. So in this case, they can have a little power of pressure on them because at least they offer these Americans who are not happy with this plan the possibility of saying, even our best and historical allies are against this plan. So probably that's the only thing they can really do.
But this isn't the first time that different parties have tried to start peace talks to end this conflict. Why should we think that this time would be any different?
I really don't know, because it is not very different from the other times. I mean, it's not the first time that Donald Trump says what he said about the fact that Ukraine has to cede territories, about the fact that Zelensky is not grateful, and so on and so forth. So why should be different this time? Donald Trump himself probably exactly in this moment was saying it's not the final plan. We can change it. So he is changing ideas every, I don't know, hours, minutes, days. But in any case, we cannot say that it is his last word. And also, if it is the last word, it can change again. So it's very difficult to imagine. I think it's very difficult that this plan can be accepted as it is. I mean, as it was at the very beginning, because this is the plan of Russia.
But even with the amendments, I mean, Russia is saying that with the European amendments, it's, well, an aide had said on Monday, this is unconstructive and it's not going to work that way. But yes. What can we expect happens next? I mean, with this meeting in Abu Dhabi, with Zelensky saying that he's set to discuss the next steps with Donald Trump.
Yeah, these meetings, I don't know how much they can be productive because, as I said, unfortunately, the situation can change immediately after. It depends who is talking to Donald Trump. But the problem is to understand what is the purpose of Russia. Because you're right when you say that Russia doesn't accept the counter-proposal of Europeans or even Americans in the fact, because this is their plan since the beginning. So if those who are involved in these matters don't understand that the goal of Russia is to make Ukraine a second Belarus, it's very difficult to put together all the stuff. So it's clear that Russia is trying to take time because in the Kremlin they know that they have an ally in Washington, or at least someone who they can manipulate as they want. So probably this is the only reason why they are taking time. But at the same time, they are in dire straits. They cannot go very far from here because of economic problems, because, every day that passes shows that Russia is very weak. In almost 4 years of war, they conquered 20% of the territory of Ukraine, which is not a great show of greatness. And for Russia, the major threat, risk, and danger is China, because Russians are obsessed by the fear of China. And now China is little by little gaining ground, not territorially, but politically and economically on Russia. They are eating Russia bite by bite. And this is something that sooner or later there will be a reaction. Already we can see, if we read some analysis made in Russia among Russian specialists, it's possible to see that China is always at the center of the concerns. They fear much more China than the United States, that for sure.
All right, Manlio Graziano, thank you very much for your analysis. You're a geopolitical analyst. Thank you for speaking to France 24.
Thank you very much.